right. Well, good evening or good afternoon, depending on where you are checking in from. Thank you for joining us today to learn about the University of Medicine and Health Sciences, or UMHS. My name's Sean Powers. I'm Vice President for Admissions at UMHS, and we appreciate the opportunity to share information about the university with you. Tonight's a pretty special event, a little different than what we would normally do. So if you've joined us before, this will be a little bit different angle on the UMHS experience, but we're very excited about it. As we've entitled tonight's webinar, a review of the 2026 match. We're excited to celebrate a number of our newly matched students who come this summer will officially move on to the next phase of their medical careers. Having earned their MD, they will embark on their postgraduate training or residency in their specific field of specialty. So before we begin, though, I want to note that if you've not yet applied for admission to UMHS, applications are being accepted and processed for the remaining entry terms in 2026. That's the spring term that starts in May and the fall term that starts this September. So if you're in the audience and your plan was to already have started medical school, but you've not yet been given the opportunity to do so, talk to us. We may still be able to provide that opportunity for you. And if you're ready now, again, we are still accepting applications for May. So in a little more than a month, you could be experiencing what you've been working toward for so long, day one of medical school. We run these monthly webinars on various topics to present the UMHS program in detail. We always have great questions from our audience. So as we move along this evening, please feel free to type your questions into the Q&A area where we'll answer them individually while asking our panelists for their perspective as well. Now, helping out behind the scenes and handling many of those answers is my colleague Sham Daria, our Director of Enrollment Management. So what are we going to be discussing this evening? Well, we'll take a look at our stellar 2026 match results. We'll meet 6 of our newly matched soon-to-be residents, and we'll hear from one of our favorite alumni who's further down the line into her residency as well. We'll also be hearing from our Associate Dean, who oversees the very unique Office of Residency and Professional Advising, to talk with him about how his department helps put students in the best position to achieve their goals. Along the way, you'll learn about how UMHS trains new physicians. So I'm excited to introduce our panelists for the evening. And as I introduce you each, please tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe where you're from, where you went to undergrad, what brought you to UMHS, maybe a little bit about your chosen specialty or career goals. So let's start with Dr. Amal Yassin. Hi, Amal. Good to see you.
Hi guys, how is everybody doing? My name is Amal Yassin. I am from Puerto Rico. I did undergrad in Bryn Mawr College in Philadelphia, and then I did my master's at Georgetown in DC, and then I ended up doing my medical school at UMHS in St. Kitts. I actually graduated in June of 2025, so this past June, and I've matched into internal medicine. And I'll be starting at Rutgers, Newark, Beth Israel in July 1st. And I'm excited to be here, excited to give you guys some insights. So send some questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Amal. Up next, we have Dr. Brandia Hayes. Dr. Hayes, good to see you as well. Matched in emergency medicine out in Nevada at Valley Health System.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Brandia Hayes. I am from Columbus, Ohio. I am very happy that I have matched in emergency medicine in Nevada. I attended undergrad at Wittenberg University in Springfield, Ohio, and then I took some time and got my master's in sports science at Hofstra in Long Island, New York. And so then I attended a post-bac program at Ohio University, and then I ended up at UMHS after some time off. I'm very happy to be here today and speak to you about the UMHS experience. I look forward to answering some of your questions.
Excellent. Thanks, Dr. Hayes. We have Chase Uter. Chase taking some time. Well, he's in the midst of a conference, so thanks for taking some time in the midst of this conference in Pittsburgh. Who was matched in surgery, a preliminary surgery match at St. Agnes Hospital in Maryland. Good to see you, Chase.
Hey, good to see you guys. Good evening. Great to meet you guys. I'm Chase Uter from Atlanta, Georgia. I went to undergrad at University of West Georgia. I played baseball all 4 years, so if there are any athletes out there, we can do it as well. I'm excited to see you guys here as well. Took a couple gap years off of the undergrad and found my way at UMHS where I finished medical school and excited to start my residency this year at St. Agnes Hospital.
Was your sports career a driving force behind your decision for surgery? Are there any injuries back there that we need to know about?
Yeah, no, I think I still got it. If I get out there, I might have a little bit in the tank.
Okay. All right. What was your position?
I play catcher and outfield.
All right. I'm going to have you talk to my kids. All
All
right.
right, I got you.
All right. Thanks, Chase. Up next, Dr. Edgardo Negron. Edgardo, good to see you. Internal medicine. He'll be heading down to HCA Florida, JFK, with the University of Miami program there.
Hello. Good night, everybody. It's nice to meet you all. Like he said, my name is Edgardo Negron. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico. I also did my undergrad in Puerto Rico at the University of Puerto Rico. After I finished undergrad, I went to UMHS because it offered me like a more wide range of possible places to explore medicine. And so I'm happy to have graduated in December this year. And yeah, I'll be happy to start my residency in internal medicine in Florida in the summer.
Excellent. Glad you're here. Thanks for spending some time with us and our audience, Dr. Negron. Up next, Dr. John O'Connor. John, a 2026 match in pediatrics at USF, the Morsani College of Medicine in Tampa. Good to see you, John.
Good to see you too. Good evening, everybody. My name is John O'Connor. I'm from Tampa, Florida. I went to undergrad at University of South Florida, so they were the USF Bulls. So now they call me a double bull because I'm able to go back to University of South Florida to pursue pediatric residency. Before I went to UMHS, I had a couple gap years. I was working as a medical scribe in the ER, and then I did a couple years as a medical assistant in like allergy and asthma immunology clinic. And kind of doing all that hard work, all that nitty gritty stuff made really pushed me into going into medicine. So I was able to go to University of Medicine, Health Sciences in St. Kitts to pursue my dream of pediatrics. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I hope I can give everyone some advice.
So you're a double bull, so you're going back home. I'm just going to take a wild guess and assume that this was your first choice for residency.
Oh yes, for sure. You gotta shoot for the stars, and everything just worked out perfectly the way it was meant to be. So very very excited to go back home. I'm up in Michigan right now, so the winters are a little different. I'm gonna have to retire my winter coat for a couple years, which I'm not mad about.
That's great. Excellent. Well, thanks for taking some time with us, John. Appreciate it. Up next, Dr. Nicole Quinones Rodriguez, Master in Family Medicine at Lake, also in Florida, Lakeland Regional Health. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole Quinones. I'm from Puerto Rico, from the south part. I went to undergrad also at the University of Puerto Rico at Mayagüez. And then after I graduated, I started at UMHS in September. I really decided to go there because I'd heard great things about how their students were always so well prepared when it came to clinicals. So really that drove me there. And then I matched in family medicine at Florida as well, family medicine because at the end of the day, I really liked a little bit of everything, and family medicine did just that. It checked all my boxes. So yeah, I'm
Excellent.
really happy to be here. Hopefully we can answer some questions.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you, Nicole. Also with us, Dr. Kirthi Suganathavan. Kirthi is a little further down the line than these folks who you've just met because she's a PGY3 at Detroit Medical Center. She's a surgeon, and she's also been an adjunct anatomy and clinical lab instructor. So she's gotten to teach a couple of these folks in the past as well. Hi, Kirthi.
Hey, I'm very impressed by my last name that you're able to pronounce it.
Well, pro. I'm pro.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name's Kirthi. As Sean said, I'm a third year surgical resident at DMC Sinai Grace in Detroit, Michigan. I'm actually from Canada. I went to the University of Guelph for my undergraduate studies in kinesiology. Then I took a couple years off, thought about medical school, but wasn't ready to commit. Traveled, worked, and then finally I tried other things, and medical school still called me. So I went to UMHS, and it led me to my dream residency. And now I'm a third year, 2 more years to go, and then hopefully fellowship soon. But I want to say, listening to everyone, congrats to everyone who matched. I'm so excited for you all to start. I know how hard you all worked, so huge congrats. And congrats to everyone in the seminar. Looking into medical school is exciting, and I hope that we can answer any questions that you can have to help you make the right decision for you in terms of medical school. So please don't hesitate to ask. There's also a Q&A and question area for any questions too.
All right. Thanks, Kirthi. I took the easy way out and just call you Kirthi. Um, Also with us, Patrick McCormick. So a little bit different of an angle here. Patrick is on our side of things, on the administrative side, someone I've worked with for nearly 2 decades.
Okay.
And his position is really sort of unique if you look at what other medical schools are doing to prepare or not help prepare their students for the residency matching process. Patrick's our associate dean. He heads up the Office of Residency and Professional Advising, and he'll be able to talk a little bit about the unique role he and his department play in helping prepare students who are moving into the final phase of their medical education and getting them ready for the match. So, Patrick, thanks for being on, and it's good to see you.
Thank you so much, Sean, and congratulations again to everybody on the panel. This is without question my favorite time of year. Our own little March Madness is the match, right? But a little about me. I was originally hired by Mr. Warren Ross back in 1998. So I've been doing this for 20, what's the math on that? Someone's probably smarter than me. 28 years. So yeah,
27.
and back in the day where I didn't know what Caribbean medical education meant, and when I started learning about it and learning the beautiful route it gave to passionate people wanting to practice medicine, I was hooked, and I've been doing it ever since. And I'm just thrilled to be here, thrilled we're doing this, and thrilled for all of you, and gonna have great futures.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Patrick.
Yeah.
Well, last but certainly not least, I'm pleased to introduce our president and the founder of UMHS, and a person who really was very excited to be here to talk to everyone as well about their experience at the program that he founded. He's actually been involved in medical education now for nearly 50 years, so he's been really almost directly responsible for thousands and thousands of students who have moved through and been given an opportunity and have come out the other end as practicing physicians. So thanks so much, Warren Ross, for joining us this evening.
Oh, thank you. And once again, congratulations to all of you. Fantastic job, well done. Your hard work, dedication, determination really has paid off. It's not an easy road, and just for everybody who's on, a lot of hard work, but you keep your nose to the grindstone, be very focused. We'll provide you with the resources, with the faculty, with the facilities, with the curriculum to perform at the best level possible. And today, it just makes me so proud to see the end results of all this hard work that these graduates are showing, and how they are being received in residency programs throughout the United States. And I think a lot of that has to do with a number of things. One is the performance and outcomes of these students on your USMLE, the type of curriculum that we have, the reputation of the university through our multiple accreditations and state approvals, and it's their preparedness for the clinical program, going all the way through the basic sciences until the last semester in Maine, preparing them for the clinical program and introduction to clinical medicine too. They seamlessly transition into the clinical program. And the best part about the clinical programs, we're affiliated with over 26 teaching hospitals throughout the United States, Puerto Rico, and Canada for the junior year, which are the core rotations. And in the senior year, students have an opportunity to showcase themselves at electives throughout the country. There's currently about 1,000 teaching hospitals throughout the United States. So typically they'll look for hospitals they're interested in doing residencies in, and they're able to showcase themselves there. And I hope that what our graduates will be able to do today is talk a little bit about their experience, how well received they are, how they think they compare to their U.S. counterparts. Are they equivalent? Do they feel weak? Do they feel strong? Do they feel as good? How did we prepare them? What was the quality of the education that they received? What did they like about the clinical program? And then I'd like to also bring in Patrick to talk a little bit about what we do. Now, I've been in medical education since 1978. I know most of the schools that are operating in the Caribbean, and I honestly have to say that we probably have one of the strongest departments for residency placement and working with the students, starting in the basic sciences all the way through the clinical program, to ensure that these students perform at the highest level, get the greatest opportunity for residencies. And I'm proud to say, as of today, we have a 93% placement rate for this graduating class, and it's still going up because we're still getting information from SOAP as well as people who pre-matched. I am betting it's going to go up as close to 95%,
It
which
went up to 94 today, President Ross.
oh God, this is even getting better. And this will be what our probably most successful year ever. So I'm very proud of that and the work that Patrick does. And Patrick, this could be a really good segue. Kind of explain what you do, and then I'd like to hear, the graduates talk about a little bit about the services that you provide and how you work with them in the clinical program. And because this is really important, it's to me, at the end of the day, it's not only about the performance and outcomes, it's about getting a residency because that's what you're here for. And your department ensures that. So maybe you could tell a little bit about what your department does.
Well, thank you, President Ross. I appreciate it. Really, in the grand scheme of things, you recognized years ago that when students get out into their clinical rotations, they can feel a little bit separate from the school, and they wonder if that's, I'm really part of a working organization here, and we are basically in place to make sure that students understand that they're supported. They can call Jonathan and I 24/7. And if we don't answer, we'll get right back to them and just have that individualized kind of, again, support for whatever they want to do in terms of achieving a future that's right for them. And so we do that by supplying data, supplying the truth when needed, supplying encouragement, and then just being available. These students are busy. They're in the middle of 80-hour week clinical rotations. So sometimes they don't know what they should be doing when. So the residency planning guide is written in a chronological order. This is what you do now, and then in 3 months. And then I remind them, please read up on it and give them tips along the way. And what I do, and I will do with all of the panelists here, I ask for their feedback, and I ask for, where they've done, what their suggestions are for the next coming group, because they're the ones that have the ears to the floor. But then we have actually, I think one of the things that Jonathan's not here, but he'd love to be here, but we all look forward to October of each year prior to the match, because one of the things that we love doing is mock interviewing. And I think everybody on the panel mock interviewed with one of us at least once. And that's really the opportunity where we get to say, listen, you've done all the hard work, you got here. Someone wants to talk to you because of everything you put down in your work, in your on paper, and in your performance. And now let's just talk about your journey. Let them know the person you're going to get, because the work you did was beyond acceptable. Now it's time for you to prove why they should want you. And that's the fun part. Yeah, but that's really in a nutshell, not to get into the granulars, but we just try to provide as much resource and information that allows students to feel less anxious.
Well, and think about it,
Very
Patrick.
anxious
I mean,
time.
the people in our audience are in the midst of a similar process trying to get into medical school, and they're
Right.
worried about test scores, and they're worried about their grades, and they're worried about letters, and they're worried about interviews, to get into medical school.
Right.
If you think about it, for those in our audience who may not have thought this far ahead, you go through a pretty parallel process as you're leaving medical school to move on to the next phase, which is your postgraduate training or residency. The test scores, your USM are your USMLEs. Your grades obviously are your grades in medical school. Your letters are coming from, faculty members and physicians that you worked under during clinical rotations. And so all of those things play into the interviews. I've always found that to be an interesting parallel, that you go through a very similar process again 4 years after you just did it to get into medical school. And that's really where you come in as the advisors, almost like the pre-health advisors at the undergrad level. Here you are to
Yep.
help navigate them through the match process.
Well, it's right. You can all attest. It's hard when you're being judged on paper, before you get in front of someone, and to let them know who you really are. So there are a couple things you can do. I'm not going to give away my trade secrets, but all of you did it very well. And but yeah, how do you do that? Because one of the things you all found out is certainly you can have interviews with a clinical a hospital where you performed a clinical rotation, audition rotation, but really you're going to be interviewing with sometimes over a dozen programs. And I don't think any of you matched where you did a rotation, correct me if I'm wrong, but so that's the trick, right? How do you impress upon a public who can only decipher you from what you have on paper, and you figured it out?
Well, a couple of interesting things today. We talked to the panelists, and I know a number of them said that they had some really great experience. I think Amal, you were talking about the interviews. Maybe you could share with the group what you went through when you were preparing for your interviews.
Yes, of course. So basically, I graduated UMHS in June of 2025, and I was actually feeling a little bit scared about the continuity of me matching into this year, into matching for the 2026 match year after I already graduated. But I think Patrick and his whole team really did a great job in that, because every week we would get an email from Patrick with deadlines, websites, resources, links, reminders. And so even though I had graduated, I still felt that, I was still part of UMHS and UMHS's resources and getting us to where we need to be. In terms of interviews, I was very nervous about the interviews, obviously, but I think one of the best things we do, and Patrick and his team does, is the mock interviews. And I know one of the things we were constantly reminded between Patrick and Jonathan is that on paper, we're already good. We've already made it this far. We have the scores, we have the clinical background, we have everything we need to have to be a PGY1. And now it's time to just show the programs that we're human and we're excited to be there and to work and to start this next part of our medical careers. And I think one of the best things to do is just a big reminder that we're just like, we're excited to be there and we're excited to work. And so that's a good thing that Patrick always reminded us of.
Excellent. And out of curiosity, I know Patrick just mentioned something earlier, but did anyone actually get a residency in a hospital that you rotated at? Just out of curiosity, anyone could chirp in if they did. I don't know the answer. No.
Or an interview, perhaps, and you just ranked where you matched above it?
Yeah, so I was able to. Oh, you can go, Chase.
I was gonna say, repeat the question one more time, then.
I was just saying, did everybody match or get a residency at a hospital that they didn't do a rotation at?
So I'm kind of outside of this current year's match, but I personally did match at a place that I rotated at. And I think rotating at it helped me, A, establish some relationships, B, get kind of accustomed to the culture of the program to see if I was a good match. So it can be helpful. And in terms of interviews, all the places that I did audition at did interview me. So that was definitely helpful in just obtaining interviews.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, I'd love to hear students' experiences applying for the match, going to the hospitals, interviewing. How did you feel in comparison to some of your counterparts? I know that some of the residencies were more difficult to get. For example, Chase, you were talking about surgery, but you felt maybe you could tell us how you felt when you walked into those interviews, and did you have confidence, or did you feel that you were on par with your U.S. counterparts?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because a lot of you guys, when you guys get in your rotations, you'll see that, Caribbean medical students become the minority. And when I got to rotations, I'll be around some of my students from UMHS, but I also rotated with students from different universities like Wayne State, Howard University, Morehouse University. So I was able to experience what, those medical students training was like and compare myself to those students as well. And I would say it's pretty much the same, if not better. We get the right training here at UMHS where you can feel prepared on your clinical rotations to present patients and perform physical examinations and, present those patients to attendings and do well. And then when it comes to interviews, I would say I was pretty much the only Caribbean student in all my interviews. I don't think there were any other Caribbean students from what I remember. Yeah, there were none. So going in there at first, it's a little bit intimidating, especially with a competitive specialty. But once you get in the room, you realize that you're here for a reason and they called on you because they believe in you. So you just got to walk in the room with confidence and know that, you're just as good as anybody else in here, if not better, coming from a Caribbean medical school. So that confidence kind of took me to a different level after my first interview, during my first interview. And I was fortunate to match, in Baltimore. So that's something to keep in mind.
Congratulations. John, what was your experience like?
Yeah, so kind of similar to what everyone else was saying, is just going through the mock interview with Patrick and Jonathan. It kind of instilled that confidence. Going through like a Caribbean school, going at first and you're seeing all these MD/DO students trying to get the same spots, and some of these places they have maybe 4 spots, 8 spots, 12 spots in the whole country, and people are vying for it. But I think after going through those mock interviews, it's kind of funny. I still have my sticky notes, and so he told me to write, "You deserve this spot." And I think it's a big reminder to, you did the hard work. Medical school is not easy. If you do it in the States, you do it in the Caribbean, you do it in St. Kitts, you learn the same stuff. And it's not where you like learn what makes you the doctor. You make yourself the doctor. And if you put all of that hard work into it, you talk yourself into believing that you do deserve that spot. And just kind of also reiterating, Patrick told us, one of the big things about being from a Caribbean school is kind of your adaptability and resilience. For me, I moved 6, 7 times during my medical school career, going to different hospitals, going to different states, finding like temporary housing for like just a month, and just kind of getting those different experiences and being exposed to different patient populations, programs like that. Because if you can do it in Michigan and Maine and Florida, Georgia, Maryland, anywhere else you can do it at their program. And it was like a extra thing that I could talk about. And it kind of also, it helped reaffirm that I do deserve this spot, and it works out.
Thank you. Nicole, were you the one who said you went to a family medicine conference that was helpful? Maybe you could tell the audience a little bit of how that helped you in terms of your residencies.
Sure, of course. So I did my rotations in Michigan and I did do a couple of audition rotations there, and luckily I got interviews there. But I wasn't sure yet if I wanted to stay in Michigan or go to Florida, somewhere that's closer to home. So one of the things I did to prepare and also just strengthen my application was go to a family medicine conference. And there they had this big expo hall, across all states with a lot of residency programs. And I really visited all of like a lot of their booths, like both in Michigan and Florida. And what I found was that the places where I did visit their booth, they did offer me interviews, or at least most of them. So it was a very positive experience because it's like, oh, they met me and they got to talk to me a little bit. And, they keep note of who sees them, who visits them. So it was definitely a plus when applying, especially because I hadn't had the opportunity to rotate in Florida, and it worked out because I matched in Florida. But yeah, I definitely recommend that, whether that's for family medicine or any other specialty.
So from what I understand, Patrick, you could probably confirm this. In terms of our success, we placed in quite a few states around the country, but with the highest performance was Puerto Rico, Florida, and Michigan. And one of the things, well, I saw a question that asked what placement rates is, and maybe Patrick, you could just explain the three different ways students obtain a residency. They're not always through the residency matching program. And it could be outside the match, could be so. Maybe you could explain what that means.
Yeah, that's correct. The biggest way, the majority match through the NRMP match. And that's where the majority of them find out during match week on Monday if they matched. And then there's a long 4 days that they have to sit there and wonder where they matched. And then they know where they're going to be packing their bags to. But during that time, there's something called the SOAP, which is the Supplemental Offer and Acceptance Program, where unmatched students have a chance to match in what's like a mini match with programs that have unfilled positions. And so a lot of our students pick up a position that way, especially if we had many students whose timing wasn't great for the main match and applying in September, October, but their timing was pretty good to register and go through the SOAP. So they were available for that, and those are some of the information that's still coming in. And then there's the opportunity for international students to pick up a residency outside of the match entirely, an off-cycle match. And so we have many students, particularly in Puerto Rico, lately, who are able to obtain a residency outside of the match because they just like what they saw, and they're not perhaps going through the NRMP that given year, or they have positions outside of the match that they're reserving for people. They can just take at any time. So those are the three ways, and it depends on the student as to whether they're well timed and what their motivations are. And we talk to them about that to see what works for them. But those are the main three ways. Yeah.
And these are, and just to be clear, this is the process that U.S. graduates are going through as well. It's not just a small group that we're part of. This is how all
Don't tell everybody has to do it. Yeah, there are some liberties that IMGs have outside of the match, which is nice, but everybody, US and international students, go through the match and the SOAP. Yep.
Brenda, we haven't heard from you. What was your experience like?
Yeah, hi. So my interview experience was actually not too bad. I enjoyed it. I actually love talking to people. And fortunately, with my dance and choreography background of many years, it enabled me to connect with people and kind of read the room. And so I just kind of used that. Majority of my interviews, at least this cycle still, were virtual, but I did have two in-person interviews. And I really felt that that's where I was able to shine and kind of utilize more of my interpersonal skills that I had developed. Also, like some of the other panelists had mentioned, the rotations that we do. So I decided to do an emergency medicine rotation just to see, okay, what am I capable of? How have my clinical skills developed thus far? So I decided that early on in my fourth year, and I'm really, really happy that I did. And so much so that I decided to do two more similar rotation months. So I decided to do another emergency medicine rotation at McLaren, Oakland, which I'm very, very happy with. That was probably my favorite month out of my entire rotation, clinical rotations. And so a lot of that gave me a lot of good talking points and different patient experiences that I don't believe that I would have had elsewhere. Um, and as far as being able to stay organized, that was the biggest thing. When you're interviewing, as soon as I finished the interview, I would immediately write down how did I feel about my conversation with the program director? Do I feel that I can approach my boss, right? Little things like that. I have an entire color-coded spreadsheet for everywhere that I applied. And then that I utilized as kind of like a preliminary rank list, right? So that way I was able to say, hey, I really like this program and here's why. So that way, when I submitted my rank list come February, I wanted to do it a little earlier. That way, if the system crashed or had some sort of malfunction, I would still have my information in there, hopefully. And I was fortunate enough to get my first choice. I was very strategic with where I applied. I wanted to go where it's a little bit more IMG friendly, but where I also had geographical connections. So I'm going all the way to Nevada, which is very far from Ohio, but I have lots of friends and colleagues down there. So I'm looking forward to the warmth, as well as the variety of patients that I'm going to be seeing because Vegas is very, very diverse, and it's only growing. And I'm looking forward to contributing, especially in a state that does not have the patient to doctor ratio that it needs to sustain the population. So I'm looking forward to training there. Yeah.
Wow, well, congratulations. And my understanding is emergency medicine is not the easiest rotation to get. So you did an outstanding job. And I have to tell you that we're recording this also for our current students down in St. Kitts. Your advice is wonderful. So I'm sure they're going to really enjoy it.
Excellent. Thank you again.
Sean, can you step in for a second? I just got to run and do something. So I'm going to let you take over.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you mentioned St. Kitts. I think you're all a little further beyond St. Kitts, but what I'm curious about is now that you have some space between the basic sciences and which take place in St. Kitts. The first 16 or 20 months of the UMHS program are happening there. What were your thoughts about St. Kitts while you were there? Did you enjoy it? I mean, what did you like about it? Were you happy to get out of there? And now do you have what we often hear from alumni? So it's sort of a leading question, I guess, and I'm curious about your thoughts on it. Do you sort of miss it? And I don't know. Favorite professors? I mean, when you think about St. Kitts, do you think of it fondly, or is it been there, done that? Anybody can jump in.
Yeah, in my opinion, I was in St. Kitts for for only 2 semesters because that's when COVID hit and we had to go online for a bit. And so honestly, I saw the difference going from in-person learning to the online mode, and it was just not the same. It was good, but I appreciated that when we were in St. Kitts, everyone felt kind of close. We all live in the same area. We travel to school together. And in the school, the professors are always there and they're very accessible. And so, I still recall going to anatomy lab every day. And after hours, I could go to speak to Dr. McCracken and he would give me extra advice and stuff to do and stuff to learn. So I felt that being in the island, even though you might think that it's a very kind of hard thing to do. It's actually very straightforward, and the fact that you're in it together just makes you feel like you have a lot of people that are in the same situation as you, and that honestly helps. After a couple of weeks, you don't feel alone anymore. That's my opinion.
Anyone else miss St. Kitts?
Well, I guess one of the questions we brought up earlier was that in terms of just facilities, how do you, I know we have state-of-the-art facilities, classrooms, laboratories, anatomy lab, ICM facilities, virtual hospital, but I think that some of you were talking a little bit about your experiences in anatomy and how that helped prepare you, because one of the things that is uniquely different from other institutions, many of the larger Caribbean schools have moved away from a traditional anatomy lab where you dissect and they're using models and computers to offset that. How do you think that our anatomy lab, which is very traditional, help you in medical school? And what kind of experiences did you get from that? And especially you, Chase, who went into surgery, and Kirthy, you actually taught in anatomy. How's that helped you with surgery?
Yeah, I can speak. I know me and Edgardo were talking earlier, and he mentioned about, going from classroom to the cadaver lab right after. That's something that's very significant that you get at UMHS when you get to see the PowerPoint slides, get to learn the anatomy, and then go straight to the cadaver lab to see the anatomy firsthand on the patient. And that's something that kind of sticks with you a little bit more than, just seeing it, on your iPad or just seeing it on your laptop. I think that's something that's very important to consider when you're going into anatomy. If someone wants to go into surgery or just want to know anatomy really well, that's something that you want to kind of think about when you kind of think about different schools. Do they have hands-on anatomy or do they have, digital anatomy? And I personally feel like, hands-on anatomy is the best way to go because you're seeing it, you're feeling it, you're tracking it, and everything kind of connects with you from the classroom into the cadaver lab. And that's something that I think UMHS did a really good job. And I was able to TA anatomy after my first semester, and and being able to help students and say, I see it now, and that those type of moments are the things that stick with you throughout your medical training, and I think it would be something that's pretty significant for you guys to think about.
I completely agree. It's so easy to learn from textbooks, from pictures. There's nothing like hands-on learning and actually being able to build those connections. For example, you in your first semester, you take histology, you take cell bio, you take all these courses where you're learning about the cardiac system or neuro system, but to actually be able to take that information that you're learning in these different subjects and integrate everything and build those connections by actually seeing how the muscles work, the relationship between where the artery, the nerves, the muscles all run. There is just something so beautiful about it, and you can only get that experience through dissection. And it's a rite of passage that's existed for years, and it's sad that a lot of schools no longer have that dissection component and just have prosections or digital anatomy. But there's just nothing like an anatomy lab and actually getting that hands-on experience. So I think it's invaluable, especially for someone who didn't know I was interested in surgery when I started medical school. Being able to learn and build that love, I think the anatomy lab truly just fostered a lot.
And in terms of how we prepared you to enter into the clinical program, we know that in first semester you have physical diagnosis. We've introduced clinical material for all the basic science courses. And then in your last semester in St. Kitts, you have Introduction to Clinical Medicine 1. And then finally in your main semester, which is right after you complete St. Kitts, you have ICM2. So maybe some of you could talk about your experiences and how we prepared you to enter into the clinical program in the United States, and if you felt that we did a good job. Hopefully, we did a good job. Anyone
I
who
felt
wants to
like
speak?
I felt like the preparation from, the last semester in St. Kitts, those ICM 1, Path 2, and pharmacology, they're heavy hitters. And it's like the basis of medicine and like boards and all those other exams. So the to prepare you on the island was good because I was able to go to all the teaching hours, all whenever they had office hours open, and they were very available all the time. I think I just had a regular meeting every week. They'd be like, okay, I know John's going to probably come in here today to go over whatever we learned today. And so kind of that like more intimate relationship with the teachers on the island helped. And then once going into Maine and you get into like ICM2 and then you do board review up there and you have more experiences and kind of like in a hospital. So I was able to do like a neurology rotation when I was in Maine, which was very interesting in one of like the main hospitals as well. Like coming out of the main semester itself, I just felt more prepared. We were able to do a lot of hands-on stuff. We practiced SOAP notes. We wrote HPIs. We worked on differential diagnoses and kind of going into the actual clinical rotations. Some of like the programs that we work with, they don't know what you know until you show them what you know. And I thought that was a time where I was able to show them like, okay, like they were very impressed that I could write a HPI. They're like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I was like, really? I mean, I learned this. I thought everyone's supposed to know this. So it kind of gave us like an extra edge and kind of made UMHS look good. Just showing how prepared we are coming from Maine into the clinical rotations. And we're not just trying to learn everything on the go. We have a very solid foundation kind of going into clinical rotations, and then from there you find what you love and you stick with it, and you show what you know, and it's very impressive to a bunch of these other hospitals that we have those relationships with, and it only grows stronger for the more people that go through them.
Amal, I think you mentioned something about the fifth semester up in Maine, I think.
Yes, I did actually. I didn't realize how helpful Maine was until I started my clinical rotations, and until I saw how me and all my other UMHS colleagues in the rotation were much like stronger in the clinical rotation because we had Maine. We had already done all of this patient care experience. This wasn't our first time. We have done, like John was saying, this differential diagnosis, this HPI. So once we jump into clinical rotations, we're like, okay, I've done this, been there, done that. And it was very easy. It was a good flow between basic sciences, what we're seeing in the books and the textbooks, and how we can translate that into what we're seeing with the patients. So I actually feel after I left Maine, I realized how powerful and how amazing Maine was actually for our preparation into clinical rotations. It made us like much stronger, in my opinion, in our rotations compared to the rest of our colleagues.
Kirsty, didn't you TA in Maine for a little while? What was your experience like?
Yes, I TA'd Maine. Honestly, I think the Maine semester is crucial and truly makes a difference between like other Caribbean students. Now being a surgical resident and working with medical students, the ability to get information from patients, solidify it, kind of translate it, figure out what's important, and being able to express that to us is a crucial skill that I don't realize we learn, and it's a learned skill. You start medical school and you think talking to patients is the most easiest thing, but no, being able to actually figure out why they're there, get the crucial information from them, be able to kind of navigate everything that they're telling you, and then take that information and consolidate that and tell your attending or your resident in 30 seconds to a minute, it's a skill. It takes time to develop. And the nice thing about the island was you start learning those basic skills from your first semester. So you can slowly keep building, 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 and then fine tune it in Maine. Then when you start your third and fourth year clinical rotations, you don't feel too overwhelmed and you can just keep fine tuning it and perfecting it until you get to your audition rotations or as a surgical resident. So I think that in itself is such a game changer that I've seen UMHS residents just excel, or med students just excel at compared to when I'm working with other medical students from different schools. So I think that's something that you really learn from the get-go at UMHS and solidify in Maine. And my favorite part about Maine was I'm not sure if anyone talked about it yet, but the standard patient encounters. I hope everyone had that experience when they were there because I know I had that and it was the craziest thing. And while we were going through it, I didn't really understand its importance, but being able to work under pressure and fine-tune those skills was important. So what that is basically you have these situations where you enter a room, there's a standardized patient, they're actors. You wouldn't even know they're actors because they're so good. You really believe that they're sick. And your job is you ask them questions. You say, hey, like, what brings you here? You do the whole thing as if you're a true, like, already a resident or a doctor. You're trying to figure out why they're there, trying to figure out what their ailment is. You do a physical examination, and then you kind of tell them, hey, this is what I think is wrong. This is my plan for you. So you're being marked on that. This is all done in like a regular 15, 20-minute appointment, like how you would actually function. And then you have someone else there, another student in the room who's listening to everything, this interaction, and then they present this. And this is a skill that, you would think once again, natural. No, it's a skill you fine tune and you develop and it's important because this is a skill that attendings will notice if you're good or you're not good at. Because this is what we do every day at the hospital. We get information from patients and we present it to our attending or whoever's higher up on our on the residency scale. But and then so you say this to the doctor, and then you get in real time feedback from an attending who's practicing, and they tell you, hey, you did this well, you missed this, and you get to grow, you get your feedback. It's a terrifying experience because you're like nervous, you're in anticipation, but honestly, it's where the most growth happens when you're outside of your comfort zone. So I think that experience is unique in itself, and it was such an invaluable experience for me. I grew a lot personally, and I think it's something that I know that UMHS does well and our students benefit from.
Thank you, Kirsty. So when you transition, and anybody can answer this question, when you transition from the fifth semester in Maine into the clinical program, how well prepared did you feel, and did you feel that you were on the same level as students from U.S. schools because you're in that same environment?
I felt, at least me, I felt very well prepared because the standardized patients were weekly things. It really helped you build up and get comfortable and just like memorize and make that process just natural. So after passing step one, I felt there's always nerves because you're in a new place. But once you get the hang of it, you just fall back into it and it's second nature. And I was very nervous about being around other US medical students because I didn't have anything to compare. And being there, you realize that you're at the same level, if not more comfortable than them. I feel like the exposures that Maine gives us is really helpful. And again, like we rotate a little bit in St. Kitts and we rotate in Maine. So you already have that clinical exposure in different places and it helps you adapt a lot.
Thank you. Um, I have one more question, Sean, then I'm going to let you take over if you have any more questions. But my main question is, um, put yourself in the shoes of uh, yourself 4 years ago, and you're talking to prospective students. What would you like them to know about your experience, about your education, and where you are today? Because there's a lot of people on this call who are deciding what the future is for them, and I'm sure they would love to have this feedback. So, we could just go down the row. Sean, you can pick who you want to speak first.
Let's go with Dr. Yassin.
I think if I was going to give anybody advice or younger me advice, I would say just keep pushing. Sometimes the light at the end of the tunnel seems very far, but if you just keep pushing and stay confident, follow the path, believe in yourself, I feel like nothing can stand in your way. And just kind of continuing to remind yourself that one step at a time, literally take step one, clinical rotations. Step two, match, and one step at a time, you just follow the path and you'll get there.
This could be you in a few short years.
Exactly.
Go ahead, President Ross.
No, just go down the row. I'd love to hear from everybody.
You have your hand up, so I thought you.
Oh, I hit a wrong button.
No problem. Dr. Quinones.
Yeah, so any advice? It's just like Amal said, just take it one step at a time. That's literally my motto. I'm like, okay, get through this class, get through this exam. Okay, get through step one. And then it's like, okay, let's do the shelves. One shelf, two shelves, and literally that's it. If you start looking at it from a, broadly like, oh, I have to do this and have to that, I have to that, you won't get through it. You'll get stressed out and you won't be that productive. So yeah, so just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, take it step by step, always reach out for help. Um, I part of my journey was during COVID, so that was a very isolating. So something I would say is just always reach out to your other fellow med students and ask them, reach out to your professors, ask them, and just if you need help, also just reach out. We're all in this together. We all have similar struggles. Some of us have different ones, but once you talk about it, you really do start feeling better.
Excellent, thank you. Dr. O'Connor, if you think back to when you were in the shoes of the folks in our audience considering where to go to medical school, in your wildest dreams, did you think you would have the chance to go back home?
I honestly that was always a dream, but you never really know how realistic that is until you actually do it. And UMHS gave me that opportunity to pursue my dreams and just, shoot for the stars and do your best. And resilience is just like a huge thing that you learn about yourself through this long, grueling process. And I think it's an important experience to have. And kind of building on all the trouble that you go through school and, however life whatever life throws at you, it's worth it. I can tell you today that it was definitely worth it for me to not give up and take that leap, go to St. Kitts. It's a totally different world. And really not, I didn't think in my wildest dreams I'd even start in the Caribbean, if I'm being honest. But this place gave me the opportunity and I took it from there. And, through all trial and tribulations, I did deserve the spot and we all did get our spot. And that's the most important lesson here. And if I could do it, anyone can do it. So you guys can definitely do it.
That's great. That's great advice. Dr. Hayes, how about you? Any last thoughts for the younger version of yourself who may be out in the audience listening?
No, absolutely. I think kind of connecting with my fellow colleagues, one of the biggest thing is for me, balance. So the work is going to be hard. The work is going to be challenging. However, the key is you have to make sure that everything in your life has a place. Because as you continue to move forward, it does get more challenging, but you also, again, you have that resilience. You have that compassion for your patients, but you also have to have that self-compassion as well. And the biggest thing is like staying open to the experience because it is a full experience. You have all these various steps and exams and scores that do matter. But at the same time, you have to stay open to the experience and what you're learning on a day-to-day basis. And again, don't be afraid. I love what Dr. Quinones said about asking questions, of your fellow colleagues, of your professors, of your preceptors, because they know what they're looking for in a program. They know what they're looking for in a resident. And when you are an incoming resident, you're going to improve that program But at the same time, you're going to improve the patient experience by you being there, you being yourself. And so that's some advice that I would give to my younger self as well as to the people out there that are considering UMHS. And I definitely feel that UMHS gave me the opportunity to have these experiences and kind of give me a stepping stone as my career, hope as an emergency medicine physician.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Hayes. Dr. Uter, any words of wisdom for the members of our audience that you can pass along?
Yeah, I'm just going to highlight. I'm going to hit on a common theme that all my fellow Pelonists are saying right now, and it's believe in yourself. Once you are, if you're a pre-medical student and you're, wondering what medical school you want to go to, one thing I want you to understand is that once you get into medical school, you are in the room, right? You need to understand that you are going to be exposed to different doctors and residents and physicians, and you're going to have opportunities to network in a way that you never thought you would before, especially us coming from UMHS. Once you get in the room, you will be able to do anything that you want to do. And I myself, just like Kirsty said, did not know I wanted to be a surgeon going to medical school. I was an open book. I was green. I'm a first generation doctor in my family, so I had no idea what I was going to do. But once I got in the room, I took advantage of every single opportunity that was given to me. And here I am going to get surgical residency. And that's something I want you guys to think about before you go to medical school. Just take advantage of every opportunity. Don't worry about exams right now, step one, step two. Just take it day by day. Just take advantage of each professor that you have, each lecture, each day, and I promise you're going to be exactly where you're supposed to be. Just take it day by day and just do the best you can. That's my advice to you guys.
Excellent. And
That's
thank
great.
you.
Great.
Now, Dr. Negron, you get really the last word from among our panelists. You have a really unique perspective as well because you transferred to UMHS. So among our panelists, you saw how it was done elsewhere and found your way to here where you have successfully completed the program and are moving on to internal medicine. So any last words for our audience from you?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things when choosing this school for medicine is that you can take advantage of the freedom that it gives you to kind of tailor your clinical rotations to what you want to do. So my advice would be, if you go to this school, try to find different places where you think you want to go and try to rotate there, because I myself got to see like 5 different states. I got to do medicine back home. I got to do medicine in the States, up north, south, and then ultimately when I landed in Florida, I knew that's where I wanted to go. So just because this school has the advantage of having such a wide net of hospitals that you can go to, try to find where you want to go. And even if it takes slightly a little bit more time, it's like it's like the people here have said, it's not really a sprint, it's not a marathon. I consider it more like a 10K where you have to kind of be speedy, but you can take the time to look around. And so that's my advice. I think one of the things that I got to take full advantage of was that. So yeah, I was able to tailor my schedule to what I wanted, and I think that's when I decided which residency I wanted to get into, I knew I was picking the right one because I had experienced everything else.
Thanks so much, Edgardo. Well, President Ross, this is a representative group of our latest crop of newly matched residents who are going to be moving on from UMHS, and this summer will be embarking on the next phase of their career. They will move into the first year of their postgraduate training. And I just can only imagine how it makes you feel after nearly 50 years in this field and the pride that you feel. And I know Patrick and I'll speak for him, I know we feel it as being able to, we all have a role to play. My role is to help give them that opportunity in the first place. Patrick's role is to help move them on to the next level, and you get to oversee it all. So I wonder how you feel when you see this year after year after year.
Well, I remember meeting many of you, if not all of you, your first week of class during orientation. And generally, I take you either out on the catamaran trip where we have a beach party and we get to spend the day together. And I remember during the orientation, one thing I always tell everybody is you're going to blink your eyes, and the next thing you're going to know, you're at graduation, and you've accomplished your dream, your goal, your desires of becoming a physician. And I did warn you that there's going to be the hardest you've ever worked in your entire life, but the payoff is so great and so grand, and you've now accomplished your goal and your dream, and it makes me so proud to be a part of all of this to help you accomplish your dream. So I just want to say congratulations to you all. Thank you very much for being on this panel. I think you've provided some insights that our students and those who are listening tonight don't necessarily know, and you've passed on some great words of wisdom. Thank you, Patrick, for being on the call for all the things that you do to help these students succeed in obtaining a residency. I really appreciate all of that.
My pleasure, my joy. Yep.
And that's it for me, Sean. Congratulations, all. I'll see you at graduation.
Well, thanks everyone, and thanks to our audience as well. And that's the next stop for our panelists. Every year, we are fortunate to hold the UMHS graduation in New York City at Lincoln Center. So hope to see you in person there. And for our audience, if you like what you're hearing, and again, you are hoping to start medical school already but haven't yet been given the opportunity, or if whether you're looking down the line, just not ready yet. Orientation for our May class starts in just over a month from now, and we are still accepting applications for May and September of 2026. So thanks to my colleagues for their thoughts, what I know has been an informative discussion for the members of our audience. So I encourage you all to follow us on social media if you're not doing so already. Facebook, if you still use it. There's a joke in there for me and Patrick, probably as 50-plus-year-olds. Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, and incidentally, on YouTube, we'll have this webinar posted shortly if you'd like to rewatch it. You can also contact us anytime at admissions@umhs-sk.net or on the web at umhs.org. So for all of my colleagues this evening, once again, my name is Sean Powers. I'm Vice President for Admissions at UMHS. I want to say thank you for joining us. We hope to see you soon. Have a great night.